upgrading of sports facility, in particular the Raoul Illich Sports Complex, which is being used by more than 2,500 athletes and students in its current deplorable condition. Unfortunately, the facility does not meet the minimum standards to qualify in hosting regional or international tournaments. Sports tourism cannot be pursued in this current state. Construction for the John Lamini Center, renovation and expansion with a focus primarily on the development of the visual and performing arts in the area, as well as training a new generation of theater professionals. Prince William Alexander School, Phase 1, which started in 2016-2017, but was halted due to Hurricane Irma. This is now to commence Phase 2 in order for the students who have special needs and require special attention can be reinstated in an environment suitable to cater to their special needs. NEPA. Additional space is necessary for NEPA's growth and expansion, which includes the administration office, student engagement center with cafeteria, nursing simulation lab, and the culinary and hospitality services. Ministry of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Traffic and Transportation, $5.9 million. 6 vehicles inspection. The marketplace, meeting area and taxi holding, Phase 1, aims to provide retail spaces for food industry, entrepreneurs, revitalize Phillipsburg, and stimulate economic activity. Investment in intellectual property tourism, tourism product development and improvement. Ministry of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, 41 million guilders. And that goes to the main roads resurfacing, hard surfacing of dirt roads, upgrading of the Prince Bernard Bridge, Dutch Quarter Road development, expansion of sewage network, co-financed by the NRPB and the Netherlands for the wastewater management. That's the total, 60 million guilders. The remaining 30 million is a grant to the country with specific conditions attached to its usage based on agreements with the government of the Netherlands. This grant is earmarked for predetermined projects and initiatives, of which I will reiterate, and they go to the reform and purchase of a new ICT tax system, implementation of the ERP software system, and prison Phase 1 research. It is important to understand why the 90 million guilders cannot be diverted to cover operational expenses, such as salary increases or payments to creditors. And here are 5 key reasons. First of all, we have a purpose restriction. The funds are specifically designated for capital projects. Diverting them to operational expenses would violate the terms of the funding agreement and could jeopardize future funding opportunities. Long-term benefits. CapEx investments are intended to provide long-term benefits and enhance our national infrastructure. 3, financial discipline. Adhering to the designated use of funds promotes financial discipline and accountability. It ensures that we use our resources efficiently and for their intended purposes, maintaining the trust of our funding partners and the public. Number 4, sustainability. Investing in capital projects supports sustainable development. These investments can generate economic growth, create jobs, and improve public services, whereas using the funds for short-term operational costs would not have the same lasting impact. And 5, compliance and transparency. By strictly adhering to the agreed-upon allocation of funds, we demonstrate our commitment to transparency and good governance. This builds confidence among our international partners and citizens, showing that we are managing public funds responsibly. The spending of these funds must, of course, also adhere to the procure-to-pay process within government. Furthermore, the previous government committed to implementing specific measures to secure loans necessary to cover the country's expenses during the COVID-19 pandemic, resulting in the so-called Lands Packet or Country Package for St. Martin. One of these measures involved a significant reduction in the government's operational costs. In conclusion, The 90 million guilders received will significantly enhance our nation's infrastructure and public service through targeted capital projects and cannot be allocated to cover operational expenses. To date, an amount of approximately 4.5 million guilders was used of the 60 million guilders. Each ministry is responsible for drafting the necessary advices, making the necessary publications to use the funds which are allocated to their ministry for capital investments, in accordance with the internal procure-to-pay process. This government, remains committed to utilizing these resources effectively to ensure the continued growth and development of our country. And as Minister of Finance, I commit to being transparent and keeping you updated on the usage of these funds.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
Of TIOT, some of the collaborations that I think we could expand on, for example, include not only agriculture and maritime affairs, but also the import of animals. We have quite a good relationship with the policy team that deals with that, and we've been able to instate new regulations for the import of birds, for example, and we often get asked for advice regarding an import of a new species or for the introduction of species into a certain area. And that relationship is going quite well. The collaboration is there, but there's actually not funding to support it. So that's something that we're doing because the ministry is reaching out to us because they want the advice and they want to do things properly. And therefore, we're submitting everything and we're keeping everything up to date. It is quite time consuming for myself or my science officer. We normally handle those requests, but there's not actually a funding allocated to it. So the expansion of our service level agreement with the Ministry of TIOT could, for example, look like instituting another Marine Park Ranger, because under Maritime Affairs, dealing with the management of Man o' War Shoal was actually originally decreed by a Minister of TIOT. And so the management there could expand. In particular, if we expand to other areas, we will need capacity there. So like I said, the Ministry of Romy currently contributes 204,000 guilders each year to the 3 core staff, and that is completely maxed out on the staff that we have. Adding another research officer and another Marine Park Ranger, and then to be totally transparent, making sure that we're paying the staff enough that they stay, and that we can recruit staff that are qualified for what I'm asking of them, would make an incredible difference to our capacity to manage those areas. And for the contracts that are at the Council of Ministers, that is with Project Carina. So Project Carina had the Nature Foundation side, but Rezimbit projects always have a government-based side as well. And so the policy department with the Ministry of Romy went through a full procurement process to hire the consultants for those additional studies that are more socio-based than nature-based. So we wouldn't be the most qualified people to execute those studies. The procurement process was very in-depth. It had a blind evaluation, and the candidate was chosen quite close to election time. So I believe that the procurement was approved and awarded by the then minister, but now it needs to be evaluated by a new council of ministers. We haven't been able to get feedback on it. I actually have a meeting this week scheduled with Angelique Gums to see the exact update. But from what we've been told, it's gone through and it's waiting for approval. So those researchers have not started their project yet, which is quite a delay.
To, I believe, the question of MP Roseberg, there's an interesting thing that I've noticed from St. Martin, Seba, and Statia when it comes to your agriculture and when it comes to export of your agriculture. So I've noticed that farmers here on Seba and on Statia have operational difficulties and legal hurdles in exporting their products to non-Dutch Caribbean islands. And strangely enough, when you've very clear, like operational examples, when you want to export a goat from here to a British island or to St. Kitts or to a French island, there are a lot of operational bottlenecks. So it's difficult for farmers to expand their export product, which can actually get them a heightened income. They can improve their business model. And that's actually something that you can help with. I understand that there's soon to be an IPCO delegation going to the Netherlands. And there's a fairly easy process where St. Martin, Seba, and Statia can be put on a European Union list, pre-approved for export, meaning that for certain designated animal products, such as fish or meats, you can be included in a European Union export-approved list, meaning that you can, or your country can export products to neighboring islands. The fact that St. Martin, Dutch side St. Martin, cannot export to St. Kitts or to Guadeloupe or to Martinique is really beyond me. So that is maybe something that you as parliamentarians can help with in lobbying to the kingdom to just put St. Martin on that list.
Project of the invasive animals, how far is that project? And is there a report that we could actually get and see what was the result? I know that there were some challenges with the way we thought of getting rid of the animals.
Yes, thank you for the question. For the invasive species project, that is still ongoing. It is aligned with our current service level agreement, so the Ministry of Romy will continue to contribute to that for us to maintain the work that we're doing. One of the large outcomes that we've had in 2023 is the purchase of a thermal drone so that we could actually do a much more specific population count that wasn't available to us. And the use of that thermal drone showed that the issue was greater than we had originally defined. And of course, at the initial start of the project, we were not yet collaborating as well with the French side of St. Martin. Now that has changed, and they will be using our thermal drone, and we will be assisting with methods to make sure that we have an island-wide population count of the specific green monkey species. Additionally, with the Ministry of Romy, we have discussed the impacts of other invasive species like the green iguana, which is currently a huge risk for our neighboring islands of Saba and Statia, as they still have their endemic iguanas that have not yet been extradited by our green iguana like ours, where we used to have the Lesser Antillean iguana. And other invasive species that come via shipments. So we have discussed expanding the invasive species project so that it is not so narrowly focused on one specific species, but that we can focus area-based. For example, eradicating invasive species in the area of Little Bay, where the brown pelicans nest and rats can impact their nesting habitats, or on Naked Boy Hill, where bird nests are being impacted by mongoose and green monkeys, or in the shipping areas to ensure that we're not putting neighboring islands at risk with our invasive species being introduced into their more protected nature areas. We were able to trap and euthanize several of the green monkey species in 2023, though right now we're actually in the process of recruiting a new staff member for that project so that we can expand, as discussed, to area-based management rather than so focused on one individual species. A large-scale invasive species management project cooperating with the prefecture with a significant increase in funding would be the best possible way forward. $50,000 per year is simply an entry-level invasive species management project, and therefore we will continue to manage in areas, an area-specific, which will be much more achievable than island-wide.
Question, earlier you mentioned about the salt pond, that you have a bird site area. Is there anything, does the Nature Foundation has any plans or any ideas on how we can bring back the salt pond or have something more, more presentable, especially considering it's in the center of town? And in addition to that, also with regard to the legal services that Mr. De Jong is offering, is it coming from your budget or is it government also taking the tab for that one?
The cultural and heritage aspect of the salt pond and the state that it's currently in are huge areas of concern for the Nature Foundation, and we have tried to find aspects to do like a feasibility study for restoring the area, because it is a significant loss, not only to the natural environment, but again, the culture and the heritage of the island. One of the things that I think needs to be addressed immediately is the dump that is on the pond and the ways that the dump is being used, in particular for wastewater, if the wastewater plant is not working, and for the dumping of dead animals. Those things really need to be addressed. I am not sure where the current waste management solution project is. It's a very large project, and I'm not sure. I've gone to several stakeholder meetings about it, and we've given advice. But I think that needs to be, our waste management system needs to be addressed, and we will continue to hope for a feasibility study to do so. Oh, yes. And then for De Jong Legal, that is all provided by the funding from Blue Marine Foundation right now. And he has worked with us quite nicely on the costs that are incurred for the work that we have asked of him, so that it's manageable within that project budget. But that does mean that because it's coming from Blue Marine, there could be terrestrial gaps because it is a marine-focused project.
Thank you, Ms. Hickerson. MP Brug, you had one more thing you wanted to add?
Just for clarification, you said that you You said that you had communication, but with regard to the waste management and the projects, with regard to the lagoon, have you been in communication with the NRPB, for example? Have they involved you, considering after Irma they have been involved in the dump project? And also with regard to the salt pond again, so what type of recommendations have you brought forward, and to whom?
Ms. Higginson?
Yes, the NRPB has brought us in for stakeholder engagements and interviews, and we have worked with their different teams on several different things, actually, the waste management system being one of them. Though it's such a long and in-depth project, I'm just not sure of its current status. For the salt pond, I haven't brought forth any recommendations as of yet because we would like to do a little bit more research on what would actually work. It's another one of those things where I could come with a couple of Band-Aid solutions or some ideas, but really what would be the best case scenario is if we had a 6-month feasibility study to see where the biggest issues are coming from, because it's anecdotal that I think the biggest issues are coming from the dump. It's just, to me, seems like something that makes sense, but it could be that there is a lot of wastewater runoff from the businesses and homes in the area that even if we solve the dump issue, that that wastewater is so high that Great Salt Pond would still be in the state that it's in. So we really need to do some in-depth focused research on what it would take to get the salt pond back to its current status. But we have had people approach us about that in the past. I wish I could say it would be an easy solution and we just throw some more mangroves out there and it would be totally set. But there's a huge amount of invasive species in the pond now. I don't know how they are impacted by the wastewater that's in the area, the physical pollution, especially around large events that happen in Phillipsburg. It would be a large undertaking, but it's definitely one that's on our aims and our goals that can be done, and that we are at least involved with, if not spearheading. The Great Salt Pond is of significant importance to us as well.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social health insurances.
It's time for a new brand that is as bold, vibrant, and colorful as the island of St. Martin, with colors drawn from our diversity, cultural heritage, and nature. Our breathtaking beaches, waters, and sun, the majestic brown pelican, our national symbol, the radiant yellow sage, our national flower, the historic border monument signifying the Dutch and French sides, our exciting cruise, yachting, and boating ports, renowned Maho Beach and St. Martin Airport, the hub to the Caribbean. All these parts come together to create the shape of the island of St. Martin. More than a logo. It's a new brand that engages, excites, and will inspire travelers to book. It's time to tell the St. Martin story, to reintroduce travelers to St. Martin, to honor our past to embrace our present and shape our future. Our culture and diversity. Dutch and French sides, unrivaled cuisine, twice the nightlife, entertainment, and shopping. Cruises, boating, and yachting. Twice the adventure, exploration, and relaxation. Splendid and scenic accommodations. Pinel, Tentamar, and island hopping in the Caribbean. Whatever your taste, St. Martin has more. Experience twice the Caribbean. St. Martin.
The government of Dominica is getting set to begin a series of major infrastructure projects around the island. These initiatives are being done in a bid to drive development and the economy in all sectors. One of the projects set to be undertaken is the Roseau Enhancement Project.
I wish to signal our intention to commence shortly a number of major initiatives, including the Roseau Enhancement Project, for which funding has been secured from the Saudi Development Fund. This was approved in the Parliament late last year, and we are putting the final touches on the project plans so that we can commence. As a matter of fact, this project is expected to go to tender in the coming weeks.
Another major project is the Future Housing Project, which targets young professionals in the island.
The Future Housing program will proceed in the month of June this year with the commencement of construction of 10 villas at Warner. They in fact villas, you know. This program is geared at young professionals and young people in general who wish to invest in a tangible asset to secure their own futures and as a way of building generational wealth. The Ministry of Housing is finalizing details with the contractors in order to begin mobilization for this project.
Lots under this project are available in Jimmet, Collyho, Hillsborough Gardens in St. Joseph, Canefield East, and Cotton Hill for purchase. The construction of Cargo Port and a cruise village are also in the cards for government.
We are also working towards the start of a new modern cargo port, which will be located at Canefield, down at the industrial site area, and a new cruise village at the Woodbridge Bay. Further details on these important projects will be provided in due course. Suffice to say that we do have the funding for the cruise village, and so we're finalizing details on those.
Updates were also given on major projects such as the cable car project, the geothermal development, and the international airport, all of which are expected to improve the lives of Dominicans.
The cable car development in the Roseau Valley is on schedule to add value to the tourism sector, and I shall visit the site early next week, and I will extend an invitation to the press to accompany me if you will have the time. The geothermal power plant and transmission lines from Loda to Fokole will soon come on stream to increase efficiency in electricity generation and reduce costs. And work on the international airport continues and is on schedule, taking shape as each day passes by.
Prime Minister Skerrit added that an effort to have stakeholders and citizens more involved in the major project will commence soon.
Very soon, we plan to organize a series of stakeholder tours to the site so that more of our people can see the extent of work on the ground firsthand. The fact of the matter is there has been tremendous earth movement and other developments on the site of the international airport. And our plan is to engage the Dominican people more directly as the project progresses.